Yeah, we're going live.
Divisional dram.
We're going live. I've changed it now.
Oh, okay, great. There we go. Nickelodeon rocks.
Nickelodeon rocks. It does. Let me know if you can hear everything.
Divisional dram. We're good.
Yeah. We good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Flag on the Play.
Every week we get more and more.
It will continue
louder.
to get even louder.
Yes. And I have to try and match the same energy. And I'm.
Yeah, we're back
Anyways,
with another week of talking about the NFL. It's an interesting week this week. So I went almost perfect on my Week 17 predictions, on my playoff predictions. I was quite happy. And then I went half and half this week. And it was quite funny that the ones I got right were really interesting games. The ones I got wrong were not as exciting.
Yeah, so we've spoken about this a little bit before stream and just during the week. But no one really deserves to be in the playoffs this week, apart from the Bills and the Browns.
And potentially, I would argue the Saints as well. I think actually the Saints game was more. So the Saints played unbelievable defense against the Bears.
They did,
but actually the Bears.
But also the Bears' offense was kind of.
But also
not great.
The Bears' defense, fair play.
Bears' defense played pretty well.
Right.
I still think they didn't really show enough. The Saints to kind of validate.
Well, I don't.
Last four in the conference. That game alone, season, absolutely. But that game alone.
I don't know. I was going to say, I think they played. I think they played well enough. It was a tough match, actually.
They played better than the Bears, but the Bears played very mediocre football.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, anyways.
Yeah, they won. I think that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So that was one I got right. I was quite happy with. What other ones did I get right? I got the Browns.
Did we say Rams
right.
or? Yeah, I thought Browns as well. Actually, I can't remember if I said it. But...
Okay, the happy. I saw it happening. I think actually, I don't know. It seemed a bit. I feel everyone was overhyping the Steelers a bit too much. And when I say everyone, I literally mean everyone. So many people were saying, analysts as well on TV and things were like, yeah, Steelers are going to win this one. And you're like, really? I get that. I get that they're 11 and whatever, but they barely the Browns beat.
Yeah.
Yes, Big Ben wasn't there, but they had most of their starters into that last game.
Yeah, if you think they went 11-0 and then their final record's 12-4.
Yeah, they've lost 5 of their last 6 games. And and I think that's more what it said to me. They've lost 5 of their last 6. Their win came against the Colts.
4 of their last 5 before playoffs.
Yeah. And their one win was a close one against the Colts, which you could more argue that the Colts bottled it than the Steelers winning that one. And so I think I'm surprised. The one thing I will say, I'm surprised how poorly the Steelers defense played. I knew the Browns. I knew the Browns were going to be fine. I expected them to play well. For me, it was more than how well is the Steelers defense going to step up?
Yes, and something you noticed watching the game was Steelers had pretty much their whole whole D line playing. Most of the starters, minus Bud Dupree, who went out with an injury earlier this year, and the Browns didn't have the best, or didn't have all their starters on the O line. I don't think.
Okay.
But they absolutely just ran them over.
Yeah, I was going to say they bodied them.
The Browns O line was incredible.
And I think actually, I would argue
they made holes that you didn't think were entirely possible, and that you didn't think were possible against players like TJ Watt.
Yeah, if the it's difficult to say whether it's difficult to decide whether to give him the award now, could you argue Wyatt Teller deserves Offensive Rookie of the Year?
You could, however, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, but he hasn't made the playoffs. I would argue that Wyatt Teller...
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they've had amazing seasons. Yeah. But I actually...
You could make a case for it.
Because Absolutely. He's been on one of he's been on the best O-line in the NFL this season.
Yeah.
He has been, depending how you like PFF and rankings and grades and stuff on individual players, he has been one of the highest rated tackles as a rookie in the entire league. Like,
I mean, I think he has done really well.
Was he lined up against TJ Watt? I don't think he was. But...
No, I think it's a left tackle, isn't it?
Yes. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah.
Okay,
he wasn't top 3 tackle from PFF.
Okay.
I can't see
okay, he was top amongst
any. I can't see any more than 3 because I need to pay for it.
Oh, come on, PFF.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
Right. Will it not show me? Well, actually, I can. Give me a sec. No, okay, it won't show me. Don't worry. But yeah, no, he has played well all year.
Yeah.
He does make for a case, make a case for it, but I think if you're going for that, honestly, Justin Jefferson over Herbert as well. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Wyatt Teller, but Justin Jefferson just had an incredible year. 1,400 yards and what kind of like 10 touchdowns or something was it?
Yeah,
I can get it up quickly. Yeah, exactly 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I was going to say it was 7.
But off of 125 receptions. Put that into context, Davonte Adams, who's first team All-Pro this year, 149 targets, and 26 less yards.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, Adams did play less games, but he was targeted more. He did catch more, but it was still kind of... Justin Jefferson had a crazy rookie year. I think he set some rookie records as well.
Yeah, no, he did. Fair play. I just mean that if picking Wyatt Teller is going to take the Browns to potentially beating the Chiefs this week, then then I would put that up, because fair play to Justin Jefferson, but at the same time, where are the Vikings? Where are the Chargers? Like,
I think when you're thinking of individual awards, you have to think about the individual, and rather than the team.
That's more my argument. That as an O-lineman, it should be more. It is a team thing. If what you're doing is allowing your team to progress.
Wyatt Teller isn't a rookie, by the way.
Is he not?
No, he's drafted in 2018.
Sorry, a couple of years.
Yeah.
Who's the rookie they picked then?
Oh no, I had his name.
He's who I meant. Sorry, like what? I swear.
Jedrick Wills.
Jedrick Wills. Thank you. It's the W's. I got confused with the W's. Chargers were very unlucky with their losses, I think, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah, Jedrick Wills has played well, now that we're talking about the right person.
Yes. That's who I meant all along.
Yeah.
Yes. How well is he rated?
Again, he's not on the tackles list.
The top 3.
Yeah, top 3, Trent Williams, Bakhtiari, Garrett Bowles.
Yeah, fairs. Yeah.
But yeah, he's played 100% of the snaps in like all but 3 games this year. See if I can find.
So Jedrick Wills must have been up against TJ.
He's had 11 penalties this year, which isn't bad.
No.
He's had quite a few false starts. Not telling me the amount of sacks he allowed. It's the only thing. Which is the one thing I want to see.
Yeah.
Here we go. He's allowed 4 sacks.
This could be worse.
Overall grade 61.5.
I can't tell if that's good or not.
Yeah. Let me... the best at the tackle position. So, Trent Williams, 91.9.
Okay.
David Bakhtiari, 91.8. Garrett Bowles, 90.3.
Okay. Well,
so
my point was, Browns O-line has been the best this year as a unit.
Yes. One thing I loved seeing in the Browns-Steelers game was... I've forgotten his name. J.C. Tretter, that's it. The centre. The amount of pancake blocks he made, the amount of knockdowns, he played incredibly well. He was so good.
Yeah.
It was just... Yeah. The movement he had as well. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Good win for the Browns. Really good win for the Browns.
Yeah, really impressive win for the Browns.
Like the 28-0 at the start was just...
I didn't watch the first quarter.
Oh.
And I'm so sad.
Oof.
I was just kind of... I was thinking, I might get some sleep. And then I saw 28-0 in the first quarter and I was like, oh.
Oh. Yeah.
So I watched the rest of the game and it was a great game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Browns for Super Bowl is a great comment, Tori. Like this is the thing for me. Against the Steelers, they played really good defense. Really good defense. What was it? 4 takeaways in the first quarter or something, or
something like that. Yeah.
5 takeaways total, and that's the main thing for me and the Browns is they've clearly got a good enough offense. Like that offense has no problems as long as they can stay healthy, block well, as long as they don't come up against a dominant pass rush. I think that's where it lies really. Is that which defense are they that they're going to come up against is going to be able to stop them is kind of number one. And then number 2, can they play defense against an elite offense? Because I would not call the Steelers an elite offense.
Yeah, no. The Steelers' wide receivers annoy me. And it's just in matters of disrespect and professionalism and everything, they're just not there.
Yeah. Do you think part of that is a product of having? Do you think part of that is as a product of not having any veterans? So they're all quite young. They've had quite a couple of rookies come in and start. So they're all really young. So you've got Juju, who's been there for 3 years now. Deontay Johnson's been there a couple. Chase Claypool's a rookie.
I mean, you think Juju is... How old is he now? He's still 24. But you think you've got James Washington, who's 24.
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson, again, is 24. Mm-hmm. And Chase Claypool is 22. Yeah, I think... I would say it is in part to not having a veteran presence, but also at the same time, you've got Big Ben who's throwing to them.
Yeah.
And no one has a better relationship with quarterbacks than receivers, really. Apart from, like, maybe the left tackle. So you've got to think, has Big Ben not whipped them into shape or kind of got them acting more professionally?
Yeah.
Or is it just that... Or even head coaching?
Yeah, it seems... that was something I noticed or wondered about when they finally asked Juju to stop dancing on the logos and things.
Yeah.
That they clearly had not been kind of talked to before. So...
Yeah.
So were they just allowing it? Was this something they were encouraging as a kind of not as an ego thing, but as a kind of like I heard one comment that was like the Steelers are quite happy to play the bad guys because they're keeping winning, and if they keep this persona up, it's going to help them. But I think actually that's something that's interesting that's happened, is that actually this persona has actually worked almost against them, because teams are like, yeah, you say what you want about us, we'll come beat you.
Yeah.
How long did the dancer go on before people had words? As far as I'm aware, 3-4 weeks. So there was definitely the Bengals. I'm pretty sure there was.
It happened a long time. Juju was still dancing on logos in week 11.
No, but I don't. Did he start at the beginning of the year? Because I know he did.
I don't know.
Because I know he did Bengals and Bills.
I think he danced most of the time, to be honest.
Because people didn't really recognise it until he started becoming big on TikTok, like through the season.
Yeah.
So Steelers have had a little bit of. Wait, when did Steelers have an outbreak? Did they have an outbreak?
I don't think they've had a massive outbreak, to be honest.
The Ravens,
it's been more Ravens.
Yeah.
I don't think Steelers had a big outbreak. Browns, Broncos, Ravens. They've just had smatterings, which every team has, really.
Yeah, and to be fair, most teams have done well to have a smattering and then for it to go. The way, I don't understand what the COVID situation is in America. But
Saints had a bit of an outbreak.
But as far as I'm aware, it's a worry.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no. So I can't remember when he started. But he was definitely still doing it when they lost to the Bengals.
I remember Bills and Bengals. That's all I remember. I can't remember if he did it before then. You might have to look that one up.
I mean, they played the Bengals twice, so.
I meant the second time. That's the only one.
That's week 15.
Yeah.
When they lost.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's what I mean. Is that actually this is something we've talked about? Like, this has been a really fun competitive season, and actually this is the one year where you go, actually, how much analysing can we do? We can analyse how they played, but when we're predicting, at the end of the day, it's going to be the team who plays harder who wins, and the Jets have proven that this year, beating the Rams, and the Bengals proved that without Joe Burrow beating the Steelers.
And I think Washington has proved that actually as well.
Yeah.
Every game.
Remember the name, Taylor Heineke. What a legend!
Yes, I was telling you earlier. I think they have their franchise QB.
I think that might potentially.
It might be a bit early to say.
Yeah, but I don't.
It might be a bit early to say,
like,
but
yeah,
Taylor Heineke has looked incredible. He looked incredible. He played really well.
Yeah.
Has so much more movement than we've seen from Alex Smith this season. His throws looked incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I was telling you during the game that the way he throws, it just looks pretty.
Yeah.
And I don't say that about American football very often.
Yeah, there was that second touchdown he threw to the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
That you could even see Tom Brady go, "Are you kidding me?" And that when you're getting compliments from Tom Brady, you know something's going right for you.
Yeah.
It was just
they didn't look too far. They didn't look incredibly fast or slow or looped or straight. They were just on target, perfect spiral every time.
It's just good.
Which was,
and he's got good pocket awareness and good.
He has really good pocket awareness.
Good mobility on.
That was something I noticed, that he managed to get out of the pocket and keep the play alive a lot of times.
Yeah. And it's something interesting. I've actually got kind of an NFL.com up on here, just to refer to. And Ron Rivera has said he wished he'd given more QBs opportunities in training camp. Because can you imagine the Washington season if Heineke had played like that in camp and then comes out and plays a whole season like that?
Yeah.
That's
like that
potentially gives Washington a couple more wins. And
for sure.
And actually potentially, I don't think it quite takes them the thing is, you've got to bear in mind they've already won that division, so they would, if they wanted to go higher up, they would have to go to third seed, so they would have had to win 12. Did the Seahawks have 12?
I don't think they would have won.
And that's what 12. I'm saying is actually they would have stayed at the 4 seed.
Yeah. But if you think he went 26 of 44 for 360 yards, a touchdown and a pick, and that pick was unfortunate because I believe the ball was tipped.
Yeah.
So the pick wasn't his fault.
No.
It wasn't on the accuracy of the ball or anything.
Yeah.
And then he rushed 46 yards off of 6 carries and a touchdown. Watch the touchdown run; it's great.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, better completion percentage than Brady. Brady went 22 of 40 for 381 yards and 2 touchdowns, which was...
Brady had one of those weird games that he's sort of had a weird season that statistically he's come out really well, but if you watch him, I swear half the time he completely misses his guy.
Yes,
And I don't quite understand what it is. Like, it's not because... I don't think it's because Brady's bad, but then I don't think they're miscommunicating on half their throws. Like, I don't... It feels like a weird...
Yeah. Will it show me the amount of drops?
There were some drops as well for the Buccaneers.
There were some big drops. Chris Godwin, that's it. He had a couple of drops. He had 5 receptions off of 12 targets.
Oh, gosh.
Mike Evans had 6 off of 10.
I think I don't actually know what kind of... That's one statistic I don't know what the average is for wide receivers catching, but I know that 5 for 12 is bad.
Yeah.
6 for 10 you could potentially say is okay, 60%.
I mean, he had 119 yards and a touchdown, so the stat line is good off of those 6 receptions, but...
Can you imagine what it'd be if it was...
As a wide receiver, you want to catch maybe 70% of that.
I was going to say, you probably want to catch 3 of every 4. That would be my argument.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking about the situations in which wide receivers catch, they usually catch over the first down line. They don't usually catch underneath the first down line anyway.
Yeah.
Unless you're running a drag or kind of a slant or something.
Yeah.
And so you want to put your team in a position to move down the field. So if you're catching only half of them, you're moving 20 yards rather than 40 yards, let's say, for example.
Yeah. I mean, Cameron Brate went 4 of 6, which I think is a still pretty decent
I'd say that's good.
percentage. But you want to try and be catching kind of 70% in my eyes.
I agree. I think that's...
or as close to as you can.
Yeah. But so I think the Bucks offense sort of had a Bucks offense season in which there were times where it looked absolutely elite and moved quickly and looked dangerous.
Yes,
running game with Fournette worked.
That game was kind of symptomatic of their season.
Yeah, and
because
I think
they came out in the third quarter, and the football team defense played really well and held them and kept the team in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Bucks finally put something together on like the last couple of drives of the game.
Yeah. I don't think they can beat the Saints.
No.
They
got absolutely manhandled against the Saints in their last game. They lost 38-3. And yeah, I spoke about it before, but that was a perfect game from the Saints.
Yeah.
If you want to see perfect
game,
football.
Or was that their first game?
That was their last game.
Was it?
Yeah, first game was a lot closer.
Let's have a look.
I
want to have a look at the two games.
Can't remember if they won or not.
I want to say they didn't, but...
No, I think they lost both.
Breeze over Brady. I mean, could argue. They have the same stats.
Yeah, they lost 34-23.
Okay.
That was week 1.
Okay.
And they played in week 9, and the Saints just dominated. They won 38-3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saints will take that anyways.
I think actually we're sort of rolling all of our analysis and predictions all into one this week. So,
yeah.
So feel free to shout questions at us. based on the way the Saints play defense, I think you're absolutely right. And I think the Buccaneers needed to come out and smash the football team and be like, yep, the football team have a losing season. They kind of shouldn't be here. Buccaneers absolutely deserve to be here. They're a force to be reckoned with. And actually, they just didn't show that. Washington proved that they potentially should be better than 7-9.
I thought they should have been better than 7-9. They're at least, for me, they are an 8-8 team at least.
Well, and that for me goes then. Actually, maybe they should be the division winner there, or at least be in the playoffs.
Yes,
Because I could see that Washington team potentially beating the Bears, because I think the Bears defense played well. I think the Washington defense played well, but I think Washington had more offensive production.
Taylor Heineke, he played well.
Yeah, he did.
He played really well, and I'm really surprised.
Yeah. It was fun to watch, and I think actually the fact that the Buccaneers only won by one score in the end, granted it was an 8-point score, I think just shows that Buccaneers offense can score points, and they're good. We can't ignore that they're good, but they're really inconsistent.
Yes.
And that's going to cause problems for them against a really dominant, suffocating Saints defense.
Absolutely.
But I will say, highlights for the Buccaneers, run game started to pick up, so if they carry that on, that might work for them.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette, quickly get up the stats again. I believe it was 19 for 98 yards. 19 carries, 93 yards and a touchdown. Keyshawn Vaughn had 5 carries for 21 yards.
Yeah.
They had a couple of wide receiver reverses, one going for 8, one going for 22. So the running game was working.
Yeah.
And their pass blocking is pretty good. Their O-line is good.
Yeah.
Chase Young didn't get a sack.
No. He did come off injured for a bit, though.
He did, yeah.
Or he may have spent the entire second half injured or something, but...
he didn't play much in the second half, but...
Yeah. I don't want Brady to win. Yeah, I know, me neither. Actually, that's the one thing I was kind of watching that game go, just willing Washington to win, because actually just didn't want to see Brady win another Super Bowl, but... But I think actually, if that offense picks up, and I was going to say the bright spark for the Buccaneers is their defense. They actually, when they come to play, they can hold teams. I just think they're, based on that game, and based against their other games against the Saints, I just don't think they have what it takes. I really don't think they have what it takes.
They're not going to be able to hold the Saints.
No, and that's my predictions going forwards. You look at the Bears. The Bears managed to hold them 21 points, I think it was.
Yeah.
That
was including a kind of fourth quarter where they completely gave up.
Yeah. And so actually, you've got to play as well as the Bears defense did, and they played well. They played well. That Bears
they did
defense.
play well.
And so I don't know if there are many teams that can play that well.
I mean, they held the Saints to under 400 total yards.
That's pretty good.
Granted, they only got 240 of their own.
I think the main point there to be had then is they had almost 400 yards, but only 21 points.
Yeah.
That's kind of, if you think 400 yards is 4 lengths.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the team stats, and this is just appalling on the Bears. Under 200 passing yards, under 50 rushing yards, less than 5 yards per play, 9 points scored, no fumbles lost was good, no interceptions, 1 sack allowed, 10% efficiency on third down, only had 21 minutes of full possession, and then 9 penalties. It's just poor.
Yeah. So I think that. So this was my Super Bowl prediction, Sam. You ready? Or my NFC contender?
Yeah.
I think it's the Saints. Basically, you've got to play really good defense. I think the best remaining defense is the Packers. I think they're better than the Rams. Actually, the Rams. I don't quite understand how. I don't quite know how to analyze.
I mean, if you think the Rams' defense made the Seahawks look a decent Seahawks offense look fairly mediocre. And then you think a poor Seahawks defense made the Rams offense look fairly mediocre.
Yeah. And so
I think if you come up against a good Packers offense, it's going to be a different story, I think.
I think it's going to be
with a much better O-line as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really
Seahawks O-line has been notoriously bad.
Yeah.
For as long as Russell Wilson's been there.
Yeah. Well, go on, let's talk about that game before I go into kind of the next round and my Super Bowl picks and things. Ramsey.
Yeah, that's
the most mediocre game of the week. I think someone went for a bath in the middle or a shower in the middle of our watch party. We watched the end of Bills. I watched the end of Bills Colts, and that was kind of like, ooh.
Bills Colts annoyed me. That annoyed me so much.
What, that refereeing decision?
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about actually. Is that the refs this season and especially playoffs have just been atrocious.
We will eventually get there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in complete agreement.
Seahawks defense allowed 4.7 yards per carry for Cam Akers, who had 28 carries, 131 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Packers defense is better than that. Better than the Seahawks defense should be able to hold them.
It was the fact what was Jared Goff's statistics?
9 of 19.
Yeah.
For 155 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. He was like 4 for 10 at some point, but had like 100 yards or something. And it was kind of that's the most kind of Jared Goff stat line I think I've ever seen. It's like great production, but
I've spoken about this before, but Jared Goff, a lot of times this season, the Rams have asked him to throw the ball 40 or 60 times.
Yeah.
And his completion rate on that hasn't been great. But you're still expecting to win big games when you get your quarterback to throw it 40 times in a game, or even 60 times, which is just,
Yeah, absolutely. But Jared Goff, fair play to him for playing as well as he did on a broken thumb. I mean,
he looked alright, to be honest. He didn't look like it was hampering him. I think from what I saw, anyways. So I think it's kind of more kudos to the Seahawks defense for the incompletions than his hand, really.
Yeah, I think that's what it came down to, isn't it? The Rams produced enough offense, and their defense. So their defense basically did the job, and the Rams provided enough offense to win that game.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to be the issue going down the line, is that clearly Aaron Donald was getting through that line like it was cheese. I don't know why I said cheese. Butter. Let's go with butter.
Hot knife through butter. There you go.
Yeah, that's the one I went for. I was just thinking of cheese. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, I don't blame you.
But he's not going to be able to do that against the Packers or the Saints. Like, he's going to be tough, but he's not going to be able to do that. And I think that is in large part why the Seahawks receivers were so frustrated, is that Russell Wilson does not have time to throw to them. And
this is something I've basically thought every single year that I see the Seahawks. I think, what are you doing with that O-line?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, like, you expect to get far in the playoffs when you're not giving Russell Wilson a decent O-line to play with.
Because you will come up against a team that has
the Rams had five sacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Aaron Donald is going to be questionable.
Oh wow. Okay.
As is Cooper Kupp, as is John Wolford.
Yeah. Nasty injury.
But they say Sean McVay says he expects them all to play.
Okay.
He hasn't named a QB yet to start, although I think Wolford gives them a better chance of winning.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because Jared Goff can't run the ball.
No.
And I think if you're coming up against a Packers, improving Packers defense, you need to be able to attack them in multiple ways, and you're not going to get that from the kind of one-dimensional throw and run.
Yeah. I think so.
But one of their guards, David Edwards, a starting guard, is questionable, and I don't think they expect him to play.
Okay. See, this is the thing. The matchup of the game is going to be Davonte Adams versus Jalen Ramsey.
Yes.
And I don't think Jalen Ramsey can win that. I really don't. And this isn't me being anti-Jalen Ramsey. Watching that game, people kind of say, oh, he smothered DK Metcalf. I think in reality, they were trying to force-feed Metcalf. And in force-feeding him, Russ made bad throws that didn't happen, but actually Metcalf still ended up with 2 touchdowns. So
yeah.
And kind of on top of that, if you don't have Aaron Donald, either because of injury or because of a good O-line blocking him,
I mean, if you think Aaron Donald is a D tackle, really, and you think who's he going to be going up against? He's going to be going up against the guards and the centre. Yeah. He's going to be going up against Elton Jenkins, didn't allow a sack in his rookie year. Yeah. He's going to be going up against Corey Linsley, the best centre in the league.
Yeah.
And he's going to go Lucas Patrick, who's had a bit of a breakout year.
And even if they move him outside and go tackles, I
believe Billy Turner on the right has played well. Yeah. We've got Rick Wagner as well has played well.
Yeah. I just think
we've shown that we can rotate our O-line around and make it work still. I think that's going to be
I think on short time. I think that's the beauty of the Rams' defense is they've got great cornerbacks who profit off good pressure because the two go hand in hand. And that's the thing is I don't think the Rams will be able to produce enough pressure past that Green Bay O-line for Ramsey to have enough time to stop Davonte Adams. I think.
The thing with Davonte Adams is he gets open no matter what, really, and he's been up against some good corners this year.
Yeah.
Let me find Packers' schedule again. So, Vikings. We went up against the Lions. We went up against the Saints, Falcons, Bucks. Texans, Vikings, 49ers, Jags, Colts, Bears, Eagles, Lions, Panthers, Titans, Bears again. We've been up against some good corners, and Davonte Adams consistently finds a way to get open.
Yeah. I mean, he was the best receiver in the league this year, potentially.
Statistically. Statistically, you've got... the 18 touchdowns speaks for itself, really, in 14 games played. But the thing I love to see about Davonte Adams is he's different getting off the ball or getting open off the ball than other receivers. So a lot of other receivers use their hands to kind of give the corner a little shove and then get open.
Yeah.
Davonte Adams doesn't do that. He doesn't need to do that. He uses his footwork.
And I think that's going to mess up Jalen Ramsey. I just don't think he can cover that. Personally. Which is why
I don't think he's ready for a receiver who's not going to use his hands and is just going to sprint past him.
Yeah, basically. I think Ramsey will potentially give up a couple of penalties just getting in his face. I think that's how I see it going. I think this is going to be a real challenge.
And even then, if you've got Jalen Ramsey on Davonte Adams, who are the Rams' corners? I'm just going to have a look at this.
Jalen Johnson was out. No, sorry, that's Bears. They have.
I'm going to look at their injuries first.
Yeah, I was going to say one of them was injured, I think.
They don't have any corners out. They have Terrell Burgess out at safety.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the Bears then.
I think so. But, right. Darius Williams.
Yeah.
Troy Hill, David Long.
Yeah.
And you think Alan Lazard, who's a physical receiver, and you think Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
That was my other thing, is even if Jalen Ramsey can't cover him and they have to double cover Adams, or even if Ramsey can cover, I think it's still going to be a really difficult challenge. I really don't think that...
Yeah.
and you've got Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, kind of.
Yeah.
I just so basically
Jamal Williams.
This is my sort of NFC wrap up and prediction. I don't think the Rams showed enough to say that they are going to beat
absolutely.
Packers. I really don't think they did.
Yeah, I know I've talked a lot about Packers today, but yeah, I think even if you end up having to double cover it, Davonte Adams, game's over.
Yeah, I think
because that leaves holes for Aaron Jones. It leaves holes for Marcus Valdes-Scantling to run deep. He has 440 speed. You've seen he's leads the league in yards per reception this year.
Yeah.
Like every other game, he gets a 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Like,
I think actually, Kat, that I think the Rams can exploit the Packers' defense potentially, especially the run defense.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I'm a little worried about, but they have improved. They held Derrick Henry to under 100 yards.
That's true.
Recently, we just got Snacks Harrison, who's had a couple of weeks to get fit and healthy. I think he'll play quite well, and he's absolutely massive.
Yeah. And I think actually, I would not go with Goff. I think Wolford provides you a rushing option, which is then potentially more advantageous for you as.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the bigger thing. I think Wolford gives you a better chance of winning, purely because the Packers' pass rush can then focus on just wrapping up Goff rather than having to worry about is he going to escape the pocket. And when you have Zadarius Smith, Rashawn Gary, and Preston Smith, who are all doing pretty well, I think it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
Also, Damon Harrison, Snacks Harrison is his nickname. He's weighed in at 339 pounds.
Big guy.
That's massive.
Big guy.
That's absolutely massive. That's bigger than basically any offensive lineman I've seen.
Oh, great question.
He's going to help stuff the run, I reckon.
Yeah. That's actually, we'll do a good intersection. So we've wrapped up the NFC, and we think Saints-Packers is going to be a great championship game.
It's going to be a really, really good championship game.
Interview, thinking he's done in Philly, where should he go? I think from the indication is he's done in Philly. From everything he's been part of, I think by the sounds of it, they haven't been great with his contract. I can see a new coach coming in and or actually they're keeping the GM, aren't they?
Yes, Howie Roseman's staying.
Probably shouldn't, but anyway.
No, he shouldn't. He's drafted horribly over the past few years.
But I think with a new coach, because Doug Pederson's gone, I would argue you potentially need to start, like Pat McAfee was suggesting, complete rebuild. And I think actually,
honestly, I think that
it might be the time. Like they've restructured. I read as well they restructured a couple of contracts to try and pay guys less money, but the indication was more that they're restructuring them to let them go. So I can.
Sorry.
I was going to say
the Eagles have a potential out on Zach Ertz's contract this year.
Yeah, and I think they take
where he only carries about $7.5 million dead cap space.
Yeah.
Or 7.7, but yeah.
So where's the best place for Zach Ertz?
Packers.
That's ridiculous. No, right.
No, but him. Yeah, but
sorry. Go on.
But
I'll let you argue.
There was genuine interest from the Packers in Zach Ertz.
Yes.
Before the trade deadline, before he got in, and I think that would work really well. Rodgers gets another target to throw to, another top end target to throw to.
But you've got to think. This is my thinking. Just naming all our teams, I was just thinking that. And this is my argument. This is my argument for the Jaguars, or potentially somewhere like Dallas. I think he needs to go to a team. Well, actually, I don't think he'll go to Dallas because of money. This is my main thing. Yeah. He is a top tight end. Right, we can't ignore. We can't ignore that he's a top tight end.
In all seriousness, I don't think he'll go to the Packers as much as the Packers were interested. I think the front office has to realise Robert Tonyan had 10 touchdowns and he's been pretty good receiving.
This is more my This is more my thing. I think Green Bay. I think you're absolutely right. It would be great, but ultimately you've got Tonyan, 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think that's no problem. I think Vikings have. I think they're okay with Kyle Rudolph and Irv
Smith Jr.'s been pretty decent from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think they would. I think they would be okay. My pick is actually the Jags because it's surprising. You look at who the good teams are and who the good teams.
You don't have much depth at tight end. I think is the big thing. You have Tyler Eifert, and then you don't really have anyone else.
Exactly, and I was going to say also that having a good tight end is a surprising feature amongst good teams.
Yeah.
Like you look at the Chiefs and Travis Kelce. You look at the kind of Patriots dynasty and Gronkowski. Yeah. You look at what Ertz and Philly in their Super Bowl run. You look at the 49ers and George Kittle. You look at Green Bay and Robert Tonyan and his 10 touchdowns. You're like, it's a surprising.
Who else was I thinking? Don't worry, I'll think of it. Just keep talking. I'll get there.
And so this is my thing. I think actually having a good tight end.
Sorry, Browns, Austin Hooper, David Njoku.
Yeah. So I think you. Yeah. I think you. Sorry, you could put what's his name? Jonnu Smith, Titans.
Yeah.
Eric Ebron played well for the Steelers in a bad game for the Steelers. So
Mark Andrews from the Ravens.
Yeah.
Now we're just naming tight ends from playoff teams.
Yeah, we are. But so good tight ends tend to mean good teams.
Yes.
And so my argument would be that actually the Jaguars have a bunch of cap space. They're probably going to go draft quarterback. They've got their running back.
Yeah.
Maybe it's. I think the things that Jaguars really need to look for in kind of draft and free agency are defensive veterans. Sorry, you can't do that in the draft, but. But maybe an offensive veteran in someone like Zach Ertz, who's a really reliable target. And you've got the cap room to go get him. I feel like the Jags make the most sense.
Yeah, Jags are going to have projected to have 77 million cap space.
Yeah. So that makes most sense to me. Think that Wentz to get traded to. This is a really difficult one. And I think this is potentially why Doug Peterson has gone more than anything, is he's messed things up horribly.
Yes.
Because whoever comes in now at coach has to decide which quarterback he's starting. And then this is the difficult thing. You either decide to go Wentz, and you go, you're paying him all this money, give him another chance, give him an opportunity to develop. But then what do you do with Hurts? Like, he's on a rookie deal, so he's not costing you anything, but he's proven that he can play.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's proven that he's a decent starter.
But then if you go with Hurts, you're then
paying
your backup,
Carson Wentz, lots and lots of money.
And it costs you probably about as much to trade him away. So do you just take the risk and trade him away and get it over with? Or do you cut him and just pay some dead cap for 1 year?
I don't think you can cut him. Give me 2 seconds and then I'll get you his contract up.
Do you know what I think they should do, personally?
He carries 60 million dead cap space next year.
Yeah.
You can't cut him.
Yeah. I think those are two really salient points that I think he needs more. The problem has never been Wentz, it's been that he hasn't got enough protection.
Yeah, and you think about the O-linemen that the Eagles have drafted over the last 2 years. And you think, in that position, it would have been better to draft other people.
Yeah.
Jordan Mailata, not very good. Who's the other guy I'm thinking of?
I don't know. And see, this is...
Andre Dillard.
He's done okay.
Again, not the greatest.
No. So
he hasn't shown any development.
I absolutely agree, Kat, that he deserves to be a starter. This is why I would say not Carolina, because he needs a better O-line, which is why Tory, I think you're probably right.
I see Colts.
Somewhere like the Colts, somewhere like the Patriots, who have really good O-lines, are probably the best bet for Carson Wentz. Do you know what I'd love to see, though, if the Eagles can't financially do it? Have a 2-quarterback system. be really unique.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be like the Saints and Taysom Hill because they use him more as an athlete. This would actually be a genuine in for those who don't know baseball, usually there are 9 innings. They usually have a starting pitcher, and then they bring in a closing pitcher at the end once the starting one gets tired.
Yeah.
And the Browns were sort of doing that at the start of the year with their running backs. Nick Chubb would start the game, and Kareem Hunt would finish it off. And what if you had something like that where you just put Wentz and Hurts in one after the other, and you don't know whether they've both got athletic ability to run or to throw, and so you could design.
Yeah. Here's another
you could put
thing.
them both in as well.
Yeah. So January 7th, the Eagles signed Tyree Jackson.
Yeah.
So I like Tyree Jackson. His measurables are really good. Really good athlete. He's a quarterback.
Yeah.
6'7", 250 pounds. That's incredible. Measurables. He's pretty athletic. Can run the ball as well. Eagles have signed him on and intend to transition him to a tight end,
which Washington did this year with Logan Thomas.
And worked incredibly well. Yeah.
And I think this is what the league is coming to. Actually, it's been really entertaining to see the league become more creative, and I think actually it will provide them better opportunities further down the line if they start to try and get players to play not multiple positions but multiple skill sets. And so, like I was saying, at what point do kickers and punters learn to play another position, or or properly be your backup quarterback or something? Kind of actually train them to be your backup quarterback. Or at what point do we have our third string quarterback be our backup tight end, or like you say, because I think it gives you then more roster
gives you that more
as well.
And it gives you more of a it helps you build a more interesting system,
and it also leaves you really unpredictable. Like if you're putting imagine if you're putting Wentz, Hurts and Tyree Jackson all onto the field at the same time.
Yeah,
you have no idea who's going to pass it. All of them could pass it, all of them could run it, and you just have no idea. And I think actually that's just being creative in your play calling is a really good way to get ahead of other teams.
Absolutely.
I don't think the Jags will do something. I don't think the Jags will do that because I don't think Minshew's quite as athletic as as Trevor Lawrence and as these other guys. But I can definitely see the Jags going with trying a playbook where Lawrence is more used as an athlete as well, because he's a fantastic runner as well.
Yeah, you have to use Lawrence as an athlete, but you have to protect him.
Which was the game where you really like the play calling? Recently, or was it the game we were really mad at the play calling, where we were like, I can't believe they called that play? Titans this week.
I can't remember.
Didn't go for it on 4th and 2 when they were down by a touchdown with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah. Let me see if I can see when that was, but I believe it was like 4th quarter as well.
The regular guy.
I believe they were.
I'm trying to remember which game this was now. Also, Colts are sort of using this system, putting Jacoby Brissett in as an athlete as well every so often.
Yeah, and I like that. Right, okay, so
has Will Lutz been injured?
10 minutes.
For Blair
10
Walsh
minutes
to be
left.
back.
I'll have a look.
Might have been the Browns. What do you think?
Seems to have avoided serious injury.
Oh, good.
I'll see if he's on the.
Who played this week?
He's not on the injury list.
Oh, I think I was saying it with Walford, that actually running the ball more gives him less to do. And that was, having a balanced offense is really key. You're not forcing your quarterback to do everything, because then they're going to get overtired and overworked. And that's the thing, actually, is that actually if you can run the ball every game,
that's how you build a balanced offense.
Yeah, but also if you can just run the ball the entire time and have multiple running backs doing that, that's your best system, because then nobody gets tired.
That's how the Browns are now in the divisional round.
Yeah.
That's how the Browns are doing so well. That's how the Packers have done well. Who else? Oh, Derrick Henry's a bit of an exception. Colts, yeah.
Sorry, yes, Browns. No, fair play to the Browns for their play calling, considering their coach wasn't in the game. That's what I was.
Yeah, I thought they did really well actually, play calling wise.
I said they did play. Yes, that was the thing. I was going to say their play calling was actually on another level because they were calling more runs and more outside zones, so that they were pulling the offensive line, not allowing them to. Pulling the defensive line so that they weren't allowed to gain any momentum.
I loved those. I loved watching those outside runs because you see the movement from JC Tretter, the centre. Yeah. I cannot state enough how good he was in that game, honestly.
But it also shows you how good those running backs are at finding the hole and cutting back in.
I mean, they didn't run it that much.
How much did they run it?
They should have run it more. Nick Chubb had 18 carries, Kareem Hunt had 8.
I think that's usual. I agree they probably should have ran it more.
Baker threw it 34 times.
Which is unbelievable, and I think that's... I don't know why they decided to throw it towards the end of the game, but...
No, but Nick Chubb had 76 yards, averaging 4.2. Kareem Hunt had 48, 2 touchdowns, and averaged 6 yards per run.
That's crazy good.
But yeah, no, so with the Titans-Ravens, it was 10 minutes left.
Moving on to the AFC.
Fourth and 2. Yeah. If I get it up again quickly. I believe they were on their 42. If it will just come up here. No, they were at Baltimore's 40, sorry. Baltimore's 40, and you decide to punt it.
Yeah. Yes, an average of 4 yards per carry is good.
Yes.
Mainly because
4 yards per carry is the difference between a good running back and a not so good running back.
Also, 4 yards a carry, if you ran it every down, you would get a first down. 3 yards a carry, you wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
I threw that to the wrong place.
Yeah, and that's why when you look at the good running backs, they all average over 4 yards per carry.
It also shows you they're pushing through the O-line. They're not just kind of getting up to the line of scrimmage and stopping. They're actually kind of using their blocks, finding the hole, getting some space.
So the leaders in yards per carry are actually Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
With 6.3, 6.2. But you think, good running backs this year, J.K. Dobbins has 6.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is then 5.6, Aaron Jones 5.5, Derrick Henry 5.4.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders 5.3, Ronald Jones 5.1. Damien Harris 5. Let's have a look at who's under 4. Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Mike Davis, Adrian Peterson, Joe Mixon, Frank Gore, Todd Gurley, Giovanni Bernard, Benny Snell.
Yeah. And if you don't recognise that names, that's the point.
Yeah.
Part of that is the Steelers' run game, which has been really mediocre this year.
Yeah, yeah.
I say mediocre. Sorry, the worst in the league. And no, statistically, it has the Steelers' rushing offense has been the worst in the league this year.
James Conner's averaged 4.3 yards per carry.
Was he injured then? Because they've
he's played 13 games.
Because per game they've been the worst.
he's had where are we going again? I lost it. 50. He's averaged 55 yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
Benny Snell has averaged 23.
That's still only.
And then they don't.
A game.
Yeah, and they don't run it with Big Ben. So you think it's a very one-dimensional offense.
Yeah, but to be fair, Big Ben does his job well. 500 yards. It was quite something.
He did. As much as he did that, he didn't look great.
I think it was what fascinated me about the Browns' defense is they gave up very little deep. They allowed everything underneath and just sort of allowed the clock to trickle out and the Steelers to just kind of keep dumping it underneath. And And actually, it just sort of wasted the game away, and the Steelers didn't get anywhere. I think if they had the potential to win that game towards the end, as the Browns kind of tired out and they started gaining momentum. But you need to take some deeper shots and to get a couple of scores out. But actually, they were just
Yeah, I mean, they had
deep
2
in
receivers with over 100 yards at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's all underneath.
But that was Juju catching 13 of 19 for 157 and a touchdown, and Deontay Johnson catching 11 of 16 off of 117 yards.
Yeah. And so if you think...
Big Ben went 47 completions, 68 attempts, 501 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks.
Yeah.
And I think Big Ben looked just average.
Yeah, it was just...
He just didn't look comfortable, and I think he retires, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really interesting, just going forward in the playoffs, which teams have done... Which teams are a product of of the teams they have faced rather than themselves.
Yeah.
Because, like, you look at the Steelers...
That's one of the concerns I have with the Packers, is they have one of the easiest schedules in the league.
But so have the Steelers,
they've shown that they
kind
can
of
beat
downhill.
good teams.
But so did the Steelers. They beat the Colts.
Packers beat the Titans and the Saints.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing, is I think the Packers have a slightly better record. It's going to be interesting going forward how the Packers fare. I think the Buccaneers, again, will be a slightly stronger test because they obviously lost to them before.
Yeah.
So, but equally, based on how well they've played recently, I don't think it's going to be particularly be an issue.
Yeah.
I don't think... Tori, I don't think it's the last year for Ben, because I've seen a quote of him saying he's got one more year on his contract, and he said as long as they'll have him back, he's back. So... So I think Ben's probably back for the last year on his contract. I don't know if he goes any further than that. That would be my assessment.
Okay, I think he hasn't looked great this year. He's looked... Well, yeah, he's got arthritic knee, which I've said before, but he's looked like it. And he still has the ability to put the ball downfield, but at the same time, he's not getting much from his receivers, and even then, he threw 4 picks last game. That wasn't entirely on O-line or entirely on the wide receivers. That's on him.
I think a lot of them were tipped passes, which I agree with you. He needs to be getting that over the O-line.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's entirely his fault, but at the same time, I think he could have not made them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he's slowing that offense down.
Do you think this is how I would do it? I'd be interested in what you think. He's got one more year on the contract, so whatever. So it will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do financially with that. But I think, you make a really interesting point that if they release Big Ben, you've then got Mason Rudolph on a rookie. I think actually use the last year of Big Ben's contract, either play him and have a rookie develop behind him, or play the rookie with Big Ben's mentorship. Because I think actually they will be in the lower end of the draft, but I think there's someone like Kyle Trask, who's probably a lot more like Big Ben. That you could use, that will probably be available there, that would be a good fit there. Because I think Mason Rudolph's good. Like the way he played against the Browns in Week 17 showed that he's decent. But I don't think Mason Rudolph's good enough to take them to where Big Ben has taken them now, or in the past, or to get them there in the future.
Steelers are projected to be 13.9 million over cap. Sorry. Next season. And Big Ben comes with 46, or next year comes with 22 million dead cap, but carries a cap hit of 41 million. So they could save 20 million by letting him go next year.
It'd be interesting. I think they'll probably talk to him about it. That would be my assumption.
No, I think it's... It's a difficult one because everyone's going to need to save cap.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I think we've seen the most that Big Ben can offer at his age, especially. I think he's kind of he's shown that he's declining, and I don't think you're going to get any better production out of him.
Yes, Tori, Big Ben has always played for the Steelers, and I think if with a good enough running game, I think that offense can remain deadly and remain playoff bound next year with Big Ben. But I agree with you that as time goes on, it's going to be so much. I think potentially with Big Ben's health, you look at the injuries he's had and the arthritis.
Yeah.
I think like you say, I don't think
he's got a 65.6% completion percentage. That's 3,800 yards. He comes in the 16th in the league in yardage. 6.3 yards per attempt, I believe this is.
Yeah.
Along with sorry, I just lost it. 250 passing yards a game, which isn't bad, but 33 touchdowns, 10 picks. It's Tannehill had better production. Tannehill had similar completion percentage, same yardage, better yards per attempt, and less pick. I think Matthew Stafford played better. Phillip Rivers arguably played better. Had less touchdowns, but Kirk Cousins played better than him.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Kirk Cousins has played well. Like, rate how well Kirk Cousins played. Yeah, Sam. How does a player retiring affect cap space? Does that null and void the contract?
I believe it does. However, if they then come back, they are put onto that year of the contract that was existing.
Okay.
So it was like when Marshawn Lynch came back.
Yes.
Seattle still held his contract.
Right.
And so they had to... I believe they had to say, we don't want his contract anymore, or had to trade him formally.
Yeah.
So that he could go play at the Raiders.
Yeah.
That's my initial thought.
Yeah. No, sounds right.
Okay, yeah, no, so as far as salary cap goes, player retirement is treated the same as if the player were cut or traded by the team. Any non-dead money is forfeit and does not count against the team's salary cap, but the dead money remains.
Right, yeah. I did wonder whether that would be the case.
So this means for Big Ben, if I can go back to... So the dead money will remain, so his dead cap this year, or next year, will be 22 million.
Gosh.
So that will still factor in next year.
Dead cap is money that they have to pay but aren't paying. That's not a great way of explaining it.
It's sort of like guaranteed money.
It's money they've guaranteed people, so it takes up the contract, but they're kind of... But they're not...
Yeah, so it's money they're spending on a player who is no longer with the team.
That's a better way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, say player has a 10 million signing bonus on a 5-year deal. So that bonus has 2 million in cap across 5 seasons. And so if you let him go, he'll have that 2 million in that dead cap.
So what teams tend to do is make contracts either front heavy or back heavy, depending on the situation.
A lot of big contracts you see will be very middle heavy,
so that it's spread out.
So that they have a couple of seasons where the dead cap isn't much, but a lot of players want to receive more money as they get better, and that's kind of what you see with contracts like. Like Patrick Mahomes is. In 5 years' time, he's set to earn kind of, 60 million a year or something.
Yeah.
And it's going to increase up to that point, and then it will slowly decrease from there. And so a lot of teams like to have that decrease, because then it gives you the time to evaluate that player and think, when can we, or if we have to, when can we get rid of them?
Yeah.
When is it viable to get rid of them if they've stopped playing well?
Yeah.
It's almost like a sort of guarantee for the team that they can go at a certain point. They can go. Do we still want this player?
Yeah.
And how much can we save by releasing them?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Which AFC games have we not talked about?
I'm not sure, but this year, last year Big Ben had 43.7 dead cap.
Gosh.
This year he has 46 million dead cap. Next year he has 22.2.
Okay.
So you see how it increases, and then there's a drop.
And dips as well, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of teams like to have that dip in it, but it increases up to a certain point, and then like a couple of years of going down, or a year of going down, or something.
Yeah.
So that if they want to, they can get out of the contract a couple of years before it's meant to end.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't talked Colts Bills.
Yeah, it's because I only caught the end of that game. But both teams seemed to just play well, but the Bills played better.
Both teams played well. Bills played well. Just going to remind myself of that game because it was a while ago. Rivers was okay. Rivers was decent.
Yeah, apart from the Hail Mary, which was...
Apart from the Hail Mary, that was quite funny.
Under par.
Underthrew a Hail Mary.
Yeah. It sort of summed up kind of Philip Rivers this season, that he played well, but then just kind of threw it when it
throw
mattered.
it long enough.
Threw it kind of through the game when it mattered most.
They didn't run the ball very much. The Bills.
The Bills.
Zach Moss got injured, but Devin Singletary only ran it 3 times for 21 yards.
Gosh. What were the passing stats then?
Josh Allen ran it 11 times for 54 yards and a touchdown. Josh Allen, 26 of 35, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Gosh.
That's no picks.
See, I think the Bills and the Chiefs are in similar situations in which they are on pass-heavy offenses that seem unbeatable. But once a defense comes along to shut it down, they're going to struggle because they're going to have to rely a bit on the run game.
I think the Bills are more equipped to deal with that.
I agree, and this is why I kind of pick Bills. But this is my thing. How are they going to...
Josh Allen likes to run it as well.
No, I know, but...
And he's incredibly physical, so I think that's a
true.
Big factor you've got to think about there as well. Is that Mahomes doesn't run it as much.
No. So we've done kind of NFC predictions. So we've got Bills, Ravens.
I would like to talk about the refereeing. And this seems like a good place to do it.
Yes.
Because at the end of the Colts-Bills game, there was a call in which player caught the ball, Colts player caught the ball, and fell to the ground, then proceeded to get up, get tackled, the ball came out.
Yeah.
So it was a fumble, and then it was recovered by the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
And they ruled it as a catch, and he was downed by contact. And in further review, it was incredibly clear to everyone, including commentators, that the player went down, and then both his knees weren't touching the ground, so only his feet were touching the ground at the point he was then contacted.
Yeah.
And so the ball got foot. So the fumble was a fumble, essentially.
Yeah.
So that he wasn't down when he fumbled it. And that was clear to everyone. And they reviewed it. And so the refs reviewed it, and you see the replay, and you see all the angles they're seeing, and you see it's clear, he's up, it's a fumble. Mm-hmm. And the refs don't rule it.
No.
The
point Sam is making is that the refereeing this year has been really
atrocious.
And
you think, oh, it's the playoffs. They're going to try and ref the game slightly better.
Nope.
They've ref them worse, if anything.
But the thing is, we sit here and we complain about refereeing. And refereeing is really important. That's kind of the whole point of sport. There are rules that need to be followed, and to get it right so that both teams can compete within those rules and try to be the best. And so sitting here and complaining isn't going to do much. Kind of, we want justice for these situations, but we're not going to get them because it's gone.
Yeah.
The only, I guess, justice we're looking for is for them to make it right next time. But then, how on earth? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of suggestions how to make it better, but
that
what...
play was clear and obvious to everyone, apart from the referee. And so you've got to think, like, how is that play not clear and obvious to start with?
Because he looked at it for a really long time.
He looked at it for a really, really long time, and then
decided. Because if it's not clear and obvious, then actually, so maybe they need to implement that. So one of the things I'm suggesting is maybe we need to suggest ways of what do they implement to make these decisions better.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to implement something that just says, hey, if it's going to take you longer than a couple of minutes, it's not clear and obvious. Let's move on. Like,
yeah. I mean, it may take you a little bit of time to go through all the different camera angles, but from every camera angle, he was up. He wasn't down when he got touched. So it should have been a fumble. And there was not a similar play, but the Saints' second touchdown against the Bears.
Did I stay up for that one? I can't remember.
I think no, it was me and Kat, and she can testify that I was shouting about that holding call.
Oh, I did see it. I did see the holding call. Yeah.
And on that touchdown, and you think the lineman has his back to the QB, the pass rusher's behind the QB, and the lineman's got his arm round him. And you think, in what world is that not holding?
But how do you rectify that? I think that's the really difficult thing. Is that
you can't, is the thing, but that's one of the most obvious holding calls I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. So what do the NFL need to do?
And it was on the QB's blind side, so you think that's the position that's being protected the most. And so that's the position you have to look at.
Yeah. What do the NFL need to do then to combat this? Like,
I think first the refs need to apologise for poor refereeing.
I agree. I think there needs to be greater accountability. I think
yes. And I think maybe it has to be this thing that. Well, they review all scoring plays, and I think they should have reviewed that play, and they should have seen that's an obvious holding call.
Yeah. I
think they should have some way that when you're reviewing a play, you can see the penalties and you can call the penalties. Because currently, you can't challenge any plays and say there's a penalty on this play. I believe you can.
And I understand.
You can't challenge certain penalties.
Yeah, I completely understand not wanting to.
You can't challenge 4 penalties, and I understand not wanting to slow the game down. But at certain points, you're reviewing this and you've seen there's a clear holding, but you're not going to call it because you can't.
I think the reason holding isn't because there is holding on almost every play, and then you can't allow it for. You can't. I don't think you can allow that sort of thing because you will get holding on every play.
I do understand, but when there's a play as bad as that, and you think he's got his arm wrapped around the defender.
Yeah, but
giving him basically giving the defender a bit of a one-armed bear hug from behind.
Yeah, but then what are you supposed to do? That's what I mean. Like, we can complain all we want, but ultimately, unless we can think.
Honestly, I think in that review scoring plays, with if you see a penalty, call it.
No,
so currently you can't review a play and then call a penalty if no flag's been thrown. However, I believe you should change that on scoring plays so that even if you haven't spotted the penalty, if there's an obvious penalty in replay, you call it.
Yeah.
And I think that limits it. So it limits it to scoring plays, and so it doesn't become a big thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't become a massive. Let's review it on every play.
Yeah.
It's to the plays that matter, and that kind of that gets around the whole can't review penalties.
Yeah.
Because on big plays, yeah, they matter, but at the same time, if your defense is good enough, they can stop it.
Yeah.
With scoring plays, if there's a penalty on the scoring play and it's not picked up, that could change the whole course of the play.
Yeah.
and you haven't seen it, but you see it in review, but you can't review it. You can't take it back. It's a touchdown. Like, yeah.
I think, kind of going along the lines of what you're saying, I think the NFL needs to crack down on refereeing in terms from a top-down standpoint, and just to say that they need to hold them accountable, whether that's apologising for the mistakes they made through a season on a week-to-week basis. But then ultimately you can apologise for every game and every mistake. So I think actually there needs to be a level of accountability written into rules that say we need to review refereeing performance.
Yes.
Not just on
a
a season level, but on a week, not like a week-to-week, game-by-game basis, but just have someone who just overviews it and just checks that, or more checks. Yeah. I think potentially just checks the decisions that are made, rather than checking all the game and going, oh, they missed that holding penalty, they missed this, they missed that. Just going, I've looked at the decisions you have made, I think you were wrong on this one and right on this one. I want to understand why you were wrong on this one.
Yeah. And that's something I'd like to see. I'd like to see why referees have decided their calls were what they were.
Yeah.
So with that holding call, I do understand that it wasn't called. On the other hand, it was an obvious call. Why didn't you flag it? With the fumble one, I don't understand why you can't call that.
No.
I don't understand how you see that and go, he's down. No. Because he clearly wasn't. So it's, yeah.
And this is what I mean, is that actually, ultimately the Bills won that game, so you don't need to worry. As in it wasn't a game-changing decision.
Yes, but it could have been. It easily could have been.
But that's what I mean, is then that is where I would want the referees to go, we made a mistake, we're sorry that we interrupted the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
Because then you are holding them accountable. It's because then the Bills don't go, well, we played a fine game, you just got it wrong.
Yeah. And it goes back to what, over the last few years, including the Des Bryant call, I would say that's.
That still
along with things like the Fail Mary.
I was going to say it still doesn't. I didn't think Des Bryant still counts as a catch because he didn't maintain control through the ground.
Yeah. But things like the Fail Mary, where the Packers player has it first and then the Seahawks player. Packers player has it first, gets down, or gets both feet down, and then the Seahawks player rips it out of his hands.
That still counts.
Or he gets his feet down in the end zone.
I think that still counts as an interception.
Don't think it does. If you have control of the ball in the end zone.
No, because it's a
touchdown.
Yeah, but it's about finishing the catch. That's one of the things that they were hot on in their rules. It's about finishing the catch. Like, can you control the catch through contact?
So they ended up both having their hands on the ball. So it was essentially that the Packers player caught it, came down with it, and then the Seahawks player, I believe it was the Seahawks, their player decided to grab hands on the ball as well, but neither would let go.
Okay, that should.
And it was called an interception.
Yeah, that should have been a.
Yeah. And things like Saints PI. It's things like that you need the referees to go, we're sorry, we know this has changed the outcome of the game. Here's our reasons behind it, or we just missed it.
Yeah. It's even just tell us you missed it. Like, we just want, like...
We want you to acknowledge that that you've done bad, essentially.
Yeah, we just...
Words, but yeah.
It's just, like, that is their job. Like, why should NFL players have to be held accountable for their actions if the referees aren't?
If the refs aren't, yeah.
It's... Yeah.
I think even potentially, like, if you... Sounds mean, but if you miss a really, really obvious game-changing call, potentially don't ref the next week.
I do think there should be stats.
And spend some time, and you have to kind of reflect on how you didn't call something that was so game-changing.
See, that's where I think you've got to be careful there. I agree with.
Yes. But there has to be some sort of kind of not punishment as such, but
no, it's accountability. Like, this is what I mean. It's about
some sort of consequence for not calling something or not spotting an obvious penalty.
This is why they're humans. They miss things. Like, it's more just about holding them accountable for getting it wrong. It's not punishing them for getting it wrong. It's more about you got your... Like, it's a bit like in the NFL. You don't... Like, if you get your job wrong enough times, then yes, you don't get to carry on getting your job. You're cut or you're benched. And I think I agree with referees. If they're going to keep getting their jobs wrong, then they need to be cut or benched equally.
Yeah.
But when one player makes one mistake in a game, it's a mistake. They're human. They get it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's and I agree with you that in the same way, refs just need to be held to probably a similar level of accountability. That they.
Yeah.
But
if
they get something
that's the thing. We're not getting that.
No, we're not.
And we're not getting anything from referees associations or anything from I believe Al Riveron hasn't spoken a word this season, and we're not getting anything from the heads of the organisations talking about the refereeing and apologising for it, like we do with the players and coaches.
Yeah. Should we move on?
Yes. I believe... Oh, sorry, responding to Tory. NFL... refs get in the way of plays every now and then. There was one in the NFL this year. And I remember it was a Packers game.
It was against the Jaguars.
Was it against the Jaguars?
Yeah.
I thought it was against someone else.
Well, there was a different one where I think it was more that MVS ran towards the ref to get the defender out of the way, which I think was,
and the ref tripped over and player couldn't get over. Yeah. Had to jump over the ref to try and catch. It affected the play. Obviously, I'm not sure if the defender would have been able to catch up with him anyways.
That's the thing is you don't know.
But you don't know. Yeah.
So I think that's what bothered me about that. But
yeah. I mean, MVS is incredibly quick, so I'm not sure how the play would have ended. But, you can't say for sure.
No.
Yeah.
So, looking towards the AFC playoff picture,
yes.
Browns Chiefs. Go on, chat. Well, I'm interested to see, chat, what... So you got Browns Chiefs, and you got Ravens... Bills. Wait, I'm interested in what chat thinks, and what are you thinking, Sam?
I think Chiefs win, to be honest.
Yeah.
As much as I think it'll be a close game, I just think Chiefs coming off of a bye week. They just look good.
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure the Chiefs can. Well, I'm not sure the Browns can really stop the Chiefs' offense that well, or well enough to win. Anyways,
I think that's the thing. The Browns are going to have to play the defense of their lives to win. I think their offense will be fine. I don't think the Chiefs' defense is going to be good enough to keep up with the Browns' offense. Personally, but oh gosh, I just cannot play Madden today. But I think the Chiefs are still the favourites. You've got the Browns have to stop Patrick Mahomes. That's it basically. I think the Browns offense is going to be fine. Browns defense is good, but can it stop Patrick Mahomes? That's the really simple, really simple.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they can. I would really love to see them do it. I think they have the potential to do it. I don't think it's out of the question, but
no, I can see it happening, but I still think Chiefs are going to take it. I see Bills over Ravens again.
Yeah, I think
same with Tory. Ravens.
Honestly, the Ravens are really predictable, and it surprises.
Yes.
It really surprises. Like this, I predicted the Titans to beat the Ravens because I was like, everybody knows Lamar Jackson's going to run. He hit his running form towards the end of the season. The Titans hit him in his running form at the end of last season. I was like, the Titans know how to beat him because it's the exact same game as last year.
Yeah.
And so I was really surprised when the Titans really struggled to stop Lamar. And I don't think it's because they didn't know what was coming. They knew what was coming. They just did it so badly. And this is my thing: is I think the Bills in particular have really good linebackers. Matt Milano.
Oh, they do, yeah. They have really good safeties as well.
Who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Matt Milano.
Right.
Oh, it's going to kill me. What is his name? No.
Tremaine Edmonds.
Tremaine Edmonds, thank you.
Tremaine Edmonds really good.
And really decent D-line. I think.
Yeah.
Again, the Bills have a good defense to be able to stop this. They just need to play for it. And yes, they've got J.K. Dobbins, who's fantastic. But this thing, force Lamar to throw. Lamar can throw.
Yeah.
We saw that in the Titans game. We've seen it in the players. But if you shut down that run, both Dobbins and Lamar, and whatever run they have at you, it's going to be a really simple game for you.
Lamar struggles to run. Struggles to throw when he's forced to.
It's also that he's going to have to, if he has to win the game on his arms, kind of with his arm, he's not going to.
Yeah. When he throws on his own terms, he's quite good.
Yeah.
And we saw that last year with his MVP season.
Yeah.
But when you force him to throw, he struggles.
You need to put him under pressure.
Yeah.
Really put him under pressure. And I think the Bills are very capable of that. Got Ed Oliver in the middle.
Yeah.
And they'll have linebacker support and safety support, like so.
Yeah, you think Mario Addison as well.
That's it, Mario Addison. I was going to say, Bills' D-line is really underrated. I'm trying to remember who else they
have. Give me a second.
Jerry Hughes, I was going to say, is the other one,
yeah. Carl Williams.
Yeah.
Shaq Lawson.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really And I think the Bills I don't think the Raiders' defense is going to have...
Trent Murphy.
I think the Ravens' defense, well played, bottling up Derrick Henry. That was unbelievable.
Yes, that was incredible. I was really impressed by that, actually.
But equally, they may be able to stop Freeman, or whoever it is. I think Carl Weathers played linebacker, Tory. I think we worked out.
I'll have a look.
So,
yeah, I'll get there. Don't worry.
No, sorry. So, sorry. My point was, I think
he played linebacker.
Team. Who did he play for?
Raiders.
Raiders. There you go.
Raiders for a year, and then BC Lions.
Ooh.
Canadian team for a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Bills' offense. I don't think the Ravens will be able to beat the Bills' offense.
No.
Ravens' defense. I think they will stop whatever run they have, but I think equally, I don't think they have the ability to stop Josh Allen.
No. Josh Allen is really, really good this year.
And I think they're probably
massively.
not expecting it. I think that's more, is it? You are expecting Lamar to run it. Josh Allen will run it when necessary, and that's what makes him so dangerous.
Yeah, Josh Allen runs it when he wants to.
Yeah.
Not when he's schemed to, essentially.
Yeah.
So you saw against the Colts that there was a designed running play for him on the goal line, and so he ran it and he was stuffed up. Yeah. And he manages to throw it out of that and throw it to an open Dawson Knox in the end zone.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
And so you think that's a designed running play, and he's decided he wants to throw it.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably had a kind of like an RPO element to it. But,
I mean, you saw how stuffed up it was, though, and you see where. Oh, it was completely stuffed up. He ran it was a QB run. It was designed as a QB run.
Well, but that's the thing, Sam.
He got hit by he went up to the lineman and basically got stuffed and was being pushed and was basically Colts D lineman were just about to tackle him at the point where he basically did a kind of like a teardrop pass almost, or just like
but that's my
pushed
point.
It to Dawson Knox.
That's my point, though, Sam. Is if he passed it, there had to be some element of RPO because it wouldn't be allowed otherwise.
It was only like 2 yards to go into the end zone, so the linemen weren't far. I don't think it was a passing.
No.
It was an RPO. Look, watch the play, and you'll see. I understand what you're saying, but watch the play. Because it was quite impressive. And it didn't look like a passing play at all.
Let's have a look.
It was fairly early on in the game, I believe.
Yeah, that's an RPO.
No, it's not.
It is. Look on the left-hand side. Someone runs a bubble screen. They don't. If it was an actual run play, they would. I think they would go for what do you call it? It is a designed QB run. You're right. I just think there's an RPO element to it.
Okay.
Like I'm not.
It's a running play in my eyes.
Well, that's what an RPO is. Like I'm not saying it's not. I'm just.
Yeah.
So I think. So what we're saying, Bills, Chiefs, AFC, Packers, Saints.
Yeah.
That's what we've always thought. Just actually, more trickier potentially than we thought it was originally.
So we get there just in a roundabout, in a different way than we thought it would.
Yeah. And I think I would argue out of those four teams potentially, pardon me, I think the most complete team is the Saints. I would argue.
I agree. To be honest.
I think they've got a run game, they've got a pass game, they've got a defense.
Yeah.
Both levels as well. I think.
Yeah.
The Bills are missing.
Their linebackers are a little shaky.
Yeah. They've so the only, and that's why I mean the Bills and the Bills and the Chiefs both are missing a run game.
Yes.
Which I think which basically if the pass game gets taken away, they're going to struggle. I think their defenses could hold them in it, but not win them the game. And I think the Packers have a run defense problem. Well, we're yet to find that. That'll be interesting. If they can fix their run defense, they're scary. But until
they have started to fix that, as we've seen against Derrick Henry.
But that's still potentially a liability that could be exploited by Alvin Kamara.
Okay, Marshawn Lattimore. Let me see if I can get his season stats up. Right, so we had 2 interceptions this year, 62 tackles. Let's have a look. He was targeted 85 times, allowed 45 completions for 600 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So he allowed a passer rating of 94.5.
Ooh, that's not great.
Which is not great. There are people on the Saints who have done better.
But this is a difficult stat though, because this is why it's so difficult to evaluate quarterbacks, because how many times is he not being thrown towards because the guy isn't open? Like, that's...
Yeah, I mean, this is saying that it's not taking into account when the guy's open, but it's taking into account when he's been targeted.
Yeah, that's
so when the ball has been thrown his way, and so that's 85 targets on him over a season. Which let me have a look at someone like.
I think we've done all our predictions. So if anyone in the chat wants to hit us with questions, like, go for it.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about everything we want to. There'll be more. Probably do some more coaching.
Xavier Howard had 100 targets.
Oh, wow! And he allowed 40.
48.3 was the passer rating he allowed, which is incredible.
See, that's why I think.
Let's see. Jair Alexander had 80, allowed 67.4. Jalen Ramsey had 71, allowed 68.6. So
that potentially tells us that. Yeah, that's really difficult to consider.
So he's been targeted more than these other receivers.
Yeah, and given up.
And has allowed more yardage.
So
more
do you think an offense like
Patrick
Mahomes could potentially undo it?
Depends on the pass blocking.
Yes, interesting.
Personally,
what pressure they can,
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been targeted 94 times.
Yeah.
Safety for the Saints. He's allowed a passer rating of 72.2.
Okay.
So Marshall Lattimore hasn't been the best DB on his team.
No.
Um,
Current Super Bowl prediction.
Yeah, Janoris Jenkins has been better as well at corner.
Yeah. I think the same. This is not a slight on the Packers at all, but I think the Saints look the most complete team at the moment.
They do. However, the passing offense didn't really show off anything special.
No, but they're healthy, and I think actually that.
Yes.
With a couple of games to go, I think they've got that could heat up. So my pick. I mean,
look at the Packers secondary. I think is the other thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is a slight on the Packers. I'm just saying.
No, I know. I'm just making a case for the Packers.
No, fair play, make a case, but I just don't think. I think the Saints look the most complete at the moment. I very much think that the Packers have already beaten them, and I think they can beat them again. It's going to be a really entertaining match. If I had to pick one based on now, I think I would pick Saints.
Yeah.
And then
I agree. The Saints are the most complete team, but I still see the Packers win.
Fair enough.
Personally,
I think the Saints and the Bills and the Chiefs then are built very similarly.
Yes.
I think the one difference is Devin Singletary, Freeman, potentially Zach Moss. I think the Bills.
Zach Moss is out for the rest of the playoffs.
Rest of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think. Well, Devin Singletary then and Freeman. I think the Bills' running game could be the thing that undoes the Chiefs. Not because it's good, but because it gives them an extra element which the Chiefs don't have. Can the Chiefs consistently pass their way through the playoffs because they've yet to show that they can run the ball?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Bills Saints, which I think will be a really good matchup, but I still think Saints take that, unless the Bills defense is up for stopping Kamara, which it could very well be.
Yeah. I say Bills Packers, to be honest. But yeah, as I am biased Packers fan. I see Packers taking that, but
see, I would argue Bills take that more because of the run game.
I say Packers take it because of that run game. because if you think it's all going to see how the Bills' run game does, but we haven't seen much against the Colts. I guess we'll see against the Ravens, but I think they have enough to get past the Chiefs, but I don't think it gives them enough of an extra element.
Fair enough.
But biased Packers fan.
Yeah. Well, any other questions? Otherwise, I think we're done for the evening. Thank you, everyone,
need to go through a couple of coaching things, actually.
We can do that.
While we think about it.
There's probably going to be more coaching hires next week, so I think.
Yeah. I mean, well, so if you don't know, Doug Pedersen got fired.
We said that already.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did that in the Eagles.
Good.
There have been some coordinator hires, which is, I guess, interesting.
Notably, Dan Quinn to the Cowboys and Gus Bradley to the Raiders. Both defensive coordinators now. Those are the notable ones, but other than that, there's not really anything massive.
I think they'll potentially...
Anthony Costanzo retiring.
Legendary left tackle.
Yeah.
Go play golf with Andrew Luck or something.
That's as far as I have extra news here.
I have a feeling. Say I want to kind of hold off on coaching because I think they're probably going to be. I think that's probably going to be either a post Super Bowl or over the next couple of weeks. We're going to find out more about coaches and stuff.
Yes, I think a lot of it is going to rely on when the Chiefs finish.
Yeah,
because Eric Bieniemy has been on multiple interviews and is going to be one of the best, or is one of the best current head coaching candidates out there, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's the Chiefs' offensive coordinator, so it's going to wait. We're going to have to see until after that, after the Chiefs end. Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald retired.
Yeah, legend as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Larry. Larry Fitz.
Reliable.
It's a bit sad, but he's 37, and yeah.
Yeah. There'll be a new age in Arizona. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for watching and listening this evening. Looking forward to another fantastic week of NFL goodness. Oh, it's going to be... Just, these playoffs are exciting. Like, I wasn't expecting the Pittsburgh Browns game, and it was great fun, so... I hope we get another...
Yeah. Look forward to some...
20. You can tell I'm not paying attention.
I'm looking forward to the games this week. They're going to be really good.
Yeah, it's going to be a day. Well, bye!
Bye.